So this is Calcat the Calcatster. This is a review of the Serene Squall, seventh episode of Star Trek: Strange New Worlds, in which they basically do a straight up Space Vanguard Starcrackers episode, in which they have a bait and switch and an evil pirate Raxler type of guy, and his assistant Nervok, of course, from Starcrackers. It's right out of, not necessarily Sphere of Influence, but the books, the Starcrackers books, the Space Vanguard books, specifically Plunders of Lydius and a chapter, and a little bit of some of the other ones. The trap thing, similar to the Sphere from Sphere of Influence, but with rocks. Next Generation did something similar. The pirate ship is the colony ship, yeah. So we have this weird setup with Spock and T'Pring talking over subspace. Somehow they're able to do that, even though later on they say they're too far away. And then there's they're too far away. She wants him to read the works of Henry Miller. Apparently, he talks to Nurse Chapel about human sexuality, even though doesn't he already know about that? Yeah, it's a good thing they didn't say 50 Shades of Grey, because that would have been stupid. I'm familiar with the works of Henry Miller. It's a raunchy book series. They made a movie called Henry and June. It's loosely based on the works of Henry Miller. He was apparently an early stud Casanova guy of the 20th century. Similar to a gigolo, but more of a gentleman, like, stud guy. Yeah, got a lot of girls. But yeah, or at least he wrote about it in his books. I don't know if he actually did, or whether it was just like, oh, he got a lot of. Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, so they encounter this. They follow this lady without question for some reason, even though she's clearly the bad guy. It's like, it's the story of mystery. It's at number one in the 4 versions of mystery. The first person you introduce that's a new character on the ship is the bad guy. That's the way it was with the murder mysteries as well. That's the bad guy. There's 4 of those. That's the bad guy. There's the guy in the second act who's the bad guy. There's the guy in the third act who's out of the blue. And there's the fourth act where it's the fourth act bad guy that you didn't expect. Mystery, all mysteries, same way. Agatha Christie, Scooby-Doo, everything. Hardy Boys, Nancy Drew, same thing. Murder, She Wrote, same thing. Perry Mason, same thing. Yeah, so all that, yeah. So Sherlock Holmes, same thing. So yeah. Although he never did actually say elementary, dear Watson. He never actually said that. In his Sherlock Holmes books. Never actually said in any of the books. No. It's in the non-canon spin-off, like 20 years later. But it's not in the actual book. He never said elementary, my dear Watson. Never said that. Anyway, but in this one, it's pretty obvious. The counselor lady is the bad guy. So she's a cross between Kimchi from Space Vanguards and Jackal from Space Vanguards, and a little bit of Sarah from Space Vanguards. So it's really obvious she's the bad guy. 3 different characters. And to be fair, they're probably not directly ripping off Starcrackers, because we were ripping off Star Trek. So technically we were thinking, okay, what if Troy was evil or horny? Sure. Or what if Dax was overconfident and she was evil? Okay, Mirror Dax, or what they did with the Mirror Kira later on, on Deep Space Nine. Or there's the lady on Babylon 5 who was questionable, morally questionable, leader lady. Yeah, so we have the phaser scene. There's the first date, blind date scene that was in the trailer. It's odd that the captain is discussing these kind of things in a joking way. It's weird, even though they're talking about firing phasers. Yeah, which the former network executive YouTube site pointed out. That guy, he's a little bit little bit right wing and a little weird, but he did point out something that's a flaw of these new Star Trek episodes. Yeah, they eagerly accept the new guest star, and it's supposed to be important, or they kill the new guest star, make them important or something. I mean, there's like they do that all the time, especially on Discovery, Star Trek Discovery. But yeah, it's like they introduce a new bad guy that's clearly the bad guy. They didn't even try to hide it. She's gonna turn on him. She's the bad guy, and she's the leader of the pirates. So she's basically the evil Janoli lady, or she's the evil Starcrackers, or she's sort of the it's revealed she's the pirate all along kind of thing. Plunderers of Lydios. Same idea. The evil Aunt Janoli. The evil Luxana Troy, who really wasn't evil, she was just horny. Yeah, she wasn't evil. But yeah, the idea that you're archetypal, and it's a stereotype. Go to archetypes.com. Go to what is it? Go to TV tropes and look up those mystery characters and sci-fi characters and how they're written, since mystery and sci-fi are related. Comedy and horror are related, mystery and sci-fi are related. So, but they're all sort of related. Anything with fantasy where something's getting to a certain point because something MacGuffin drives the plot, science fiction, fantasy, whatever. They're all similar, which is why soap operas were so boring. Because they would often forget that they did that last season and do it again. Oh, yeah, because after thousands of episodes, they're going to run out of ideas. But back in the day, heard on the Larry King show, Angela Lansbury being interviewed, going, this is the 4 different versions of mystery, and we do them over and over again. We just do the same story over and over again. Nobody seems to notice. Without subverting expectations. But they weren't subverting expectations because we could tell the bad guy was coming. So we knew the bad guy was coming. They even do a nod to Macross and Robotech. They did a nod to the triangle from anime, which is awesome. It wasn't a nod to ours because we were ripping off Robotech when we did our joke with the logical character on the ship who pretends to be in love with the other character to trick the girlfriend to Pring into giving her the message that not to surrender the ship, basically. So he tricks her. Similar to in Robotech when they did this affair moment to trick the enemy bad guys into surrendering or freaking out or something. Of course, if they were pirates and the main pirate wasn't Orion, he would have known that trick and been like, wait a minute. Yeah. He would have known. Because he would have been able to detect that from Orion. Orion Raxler Tim marks cards. He was more of a marks cards, the Orion. In green makeup and a beard. He looked like Mark's Cards circa 1994. He had a beard and long hair. And it wasn't Harry Mudd, fortunately, because that would have been stupid. I thought he was Koloff at first, but nope. They weren't doing that. So, yeah, it wasn't him. They were also kind of referencing Silly Track Strange Worlds, of course, but of course they were. They were related. There's relations. Anyway, so we're continuing with the story that was kind of written by Morton Roadkill that made it to Star Trek. So, little did they know that these different people, like Kelly Bullocks and Morton Roadkill and Clint Cowpoke, they're all my characters from stories. They don't realize, why don't they just hire me? That'd be nice. Or am I a character? Or are you a character? Anyway. Yeah, so basically the premise of the story kept kind of doing the same deal with the monster of the week being clearly, like from the beginning, manipulative and sneaky. It's kind of some of the mantra was kind of odd, and what the guy was pointing out in the earlier episodes, and probably will in this one, the ex-producer guy, was that I think he was a producer on sitcoms. This producer guy, not on sci-fi so much, but he was pointing out that a commanding officer on a ship is not going to behave that jovially with his crew. It just isn't. It's not proper decorum. They're not going to have joking and hazing and going on about banter and sarcasm and stuff like that, or cook for pirates, as they did in this one. They're just not going to do that unless they're being silly. And granted, if it's silly Trek, that's perfectly fine. If it's Starship Locations, it's perfectly fine to pull that joke. Because it's silly. It's a parody of Star Trek. But when does your story become a parody of itself? Yeah. So Lower Deck Season 3. I'm watching, but yes. Yeah. But yes. So we have... yeah, it was like scenes from Lower Decks were in this. It was kind of odd. The resolution is found by way of by way of that. Another thing, they do tie this episode into, spoiler warning, into Cyborg. I kind of thought they were going there. I wasn't sure. But the guy they were after on the prison planet, his real name is Cyborg. He's Spock's illegitimate half-brother. But it's mentioned in Nurse Chapel and no one else, so that they can get away with, say, having Kirk in the future mention it and not know he had a half-brother at all. Cyborg. But at this point, Cyborg would have been young, or at least younger. And it wouldn't have looked anything like the other guy. So it's like 40 years earlier, 50 years earlier. But yeah, okay, so, sure, why not? There's a reference to Cyborg. Somewhere in the story, you'll find out. Spoilers. But yeah, they Spock and Nurse Chapel pretend to be lovers so that T'Pring gets what they're doing and takes off. And even though T'Pring coming there doesn't make sense. The only way that even works is if she actually wasn't there and it was a hologram. But they didn't do that. That's just what they did in the Space Vanguards episode. No. They faked it. Video. Yeah. They're like, oh yeah, that was a hologram. Wasn't actually there. Clark turns to the other one and goes, oh, I kind of liked it. Oh, she's like, get out of here. You know you're not serious. And he wasn't. He wasn't serious. But yeah, so everybody knows they're not serious at the end. I like the relationships better than they did with the Abrams movies, where it didn't make sense that Spock and Uhura were an item at all. And yeah. Anyway, so that is the end of my review of this.